Downward.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Um, my name is Tianyu Lloyd, and I'm joined today by my colleague Neil Bruton. I will go over the current family reunification policy, which was revised for the first time in over a decade last November. And Neil will then talk about our family reunification campaign. We will have some time for questions and answers. And this webinar, as I mentioned, is recorded and will be available for rewatch on our website. So first thing, before we start, I just want to talk about who we are first. So the Migrant Rights Centre Ireland, or MRCI, is a national organization dedicated to support migrant workers and families who are at risk of exploitation, social exclusion, or discrimination. Every year, our information and support center handles over 3,000 cases. It's a completely free and confidential service where we provide face-to-face, over the phone, and email support on migrant rights, employment rights, and work permit issues. We have been standing side by side with migrants to tackle the root cause of inequality for the last 25 years. A little bit disclaimer as well. These material have been prepared by the Migrant Rights Centre Ireland for information purpose only, and with no guarantee as to accuracy or applicability to any particular scenario. The material are not intended and should not be considered to be legal advice. The information given may change from time to time and may be out of date. The Migrant Rights Centre Ireland disclaims any legal responsibility for the content or the accuracy of the information provided. MRCI is not a practicing law center. So I just want to go over the layout of our information this evening. First of all, I'm going to give you a bit of definition about family reunification, what it actually means, and then we will go through who has the right to bring and who can you bring family members. And then we will go through the financial requirements, especially when it comes to minor children. And we will cover the documentation requirement. And then we will give a bit of time on adult dependence in case you need to, you wish to bring a loved one who's dependent on you. And then we will also talk about some post-submission matters, such as processing time and appeals, etc. Then my colleague Neil is going to talk about our campaigns, family reunification campaigns. And then after that, we are going to have some Q&A time, okay? So now, as I mentioned, the family reunification is actually an official process to bring close family members to live long-term in Ireland. Ireland has no legal obligation to grant family reunification to non-EEA workers. The Department of Justice always emphasizes in their policy paper that it's a privilege, not a right. What this means is that even if you reach every bar required, they still don't have to grant the visa. You can only apply if your family is outside of Ireland when the application is made. If they are here already, there is a different process altogether. And then there's application fee of €60. You should not confuse family reunification with a short-term visit for your family members. Because this one, the family reunification will give you a long-term residency, whereas short-term visits, it's temporary and 3 months only. And Department of Justice now give 3 different categories of sponsors. Category A is our citizen or refugees or subsidiary protection holders. Category B are high-skilled, high-earning migrants, including critical skill permit holders, PhD students, doctors, researchers, and some other migrants with high threshold. Category C would be any other work permit holders and stamp 4 holders that's not specified. This would include general employment permit holders, reactivation permits, and stamp 4 from regularization scheme. So for category A and category B, there's no waiting time before you are allowed to make a submission for family reunification. But category C will need to wait for 1 year at least before you're allowed to apply for family reunification. Now, who can you bring? There's 3 different category types as well. First one is sponsors, civil partners, or de facto partners who have lived with you and with evidence that you've been together for at least 2 years. The second group will be children, minors, unmarried minors under 18. This is quite a major change as well, actually, because in the past, you can apply for children in full-time education under 23. But now with the new policy, if you have a child that's 20 years old in college who used to be qualified, you can't apply for them now. There's another group is dependent adult relatives. So these will be parents, adult children, or siblings who cannot live independently, do not have financial or social supports. You must provide official verifiable medical documentations of serious medical or psychological conditions. And you also have to wait for 2 years or 5 years for category B and C before making application for dependent adult relatives. If you are a citizen or refugees in category A, then you can apply right away if you qualify financially and with other have all the other documents. So the financial requirement is now, in general, only one sponsor's income will be considered, but the new policy does also say that declared and verifiable savings by the family member or sponsor may be taken into account. So you should only submit your own pay slips, etc., but maybe the savings on the side will help as well. Figures in the policy paper are minimum requirements. So just because you reach the financial requirement doesn't mean they will definitely approve. Sponsors must maintain required income level and may need to prove this when renewing residency permission. If you are successful in bringing your family here, potentially you could still be asked when your family renews the dependency permit. Sponsor must not have relied mainly on our state support for the last 2 years at least before applying. This is probably more relevant for category A or maybe some stamp 4 holders from the regularization scheme, because other people will probably be working full time anyway. For category A, you just need to prove that you have earned more than 40,000 euro over the last 3 years. And this does not include state benefits. So it's quite a reachable bar. For category B, because critical skill permit holders, etc., they don't have to actually work here before they start submitting family reunification applications. They need to be able to prove or confirm that they will have employment and their gross income level will be reaching, they will be able to, they need to confirm that they are having the correct level of, sorry, I can actually not see my own notes here. Sorry. You need to confirm the length of employment, sorry, and the gross income of the current. We're only talking about sponsors and de facto partners here. You need to be able to earn 30,000 euro minimum in the previous year, with the expectation that this level of income can be maintained. You just need to provide an employment detail summary of last year, or if you have more, last few years. Confirmation that the length for the employment and gross income for the current tax year as well. So that's quite doable for a lot of people. But if you're trying to bring children, then it's a completely different story. So the policy paper says your net income must be in line with the working family payment, which is a social welfare payment for lower income families. But this working family payment has been increased a lot in recent years. So what means now is that if it's a one-child family, then the working family payment is 765 euro. So in order for you to be earning more than this, which means you won't be able to claim working family payment, you need to basically earn more than 50,000 euro. And for 2 children, you need to prove that you have more than 60,000 euro. 3 children is more than 70,000 euro, etc. So basically, that's pricing a lot of people out of the ability to bring children to Ireland. Now, if you do manage to meet all the requirements and you're ready to submit application, here is a list of all the documents you are expected to submit when you submit your visa application. First of all, you have to complete your visa application form on the AVAT's website, which is a visa application website. You need to print out and sign and date the summary visa application form. And then you also need to provide, the applicant need to provide their valid passport with all pages, including blank pages, valid for at least 12 months. They also need to submit 2 recent passport photos, and they should sign name and visa reference numbers on the back of the photos for identification purpose. Applicants are required to submit an application letter. So you should, in the applicant's letter should include their full contact details, reason for coming to Ireland, their name, address, and immigration status of the sponsor, and details of any other family members who are currently living in Ireland, UK, or the EU. Now, we actually suggest for people to also include a sponsor's support letter. You don't have to do both, but either way, you should, in the letter or the 2 letters, you should basically also cover all the documents you are submitting and why you're submitting them, basically. So the documents you will want to provide, including like relationship proofs such as marriage certificate and evidence of genuine and lasting relationship. These kind of documents will usually include joint bills, photos, their social media chats or call logs, and photos of them or tickets of traveling together. And then a relationship for partners or spouse must also include evidence of face-to-face meetings between the parties. For children, you just need to provide birth certificate or adoption order showing sponsor as a parent. And if one of the parent is not coming together, then that parent also need to provide a consent sworn affidavit and also their ID as well. Now, if they don't have custody, then they don't have to sign. Sponsors' documents would include their current IRP cards. You need to provide front and back. And they also need to provide all pages of their passports, including blank pages. And they also should provide work permit or hosting agreement or any other documents that reflects their immigration statuses. For financial evidence, for category A and C, you must provide employment detail summaries and 3 recent pay slips and contract. For category B, if you have all the documents I just mentioned there, you can provide them. But if you haven't lived in Ireland for more than 1 year, you might not have employment detail summary. So your supporting documents should include documentation that confirming the length of employment and gross income for the current tax year as well. So you should both the applicants and the sponsor should also provide up-to-date 6 months bank statements, and they should also provide evidence of financial dependency as well, which I will talk about later. Then there's also a requirement for evidence of accommodation in the current environment. Well, if you have your own mortgage or if you have bought your own house, then that's not a problem. But if you are only renting and you don't know whether you will be living in your current accommodation by the time the application is being looked at, you can leave that off for now, but you should know that they will probably ask for it at a later time. You can also include a letter from your landlord if they say that, if they are happy to say that I am willing for this person's family members to stay in this accommodation. Evidence of dependency is one of the most important things the Department of Justice will look at when they evaluate your documents. So when we talk about dependency, it's financial and emotional dependency. So you can provide information on the amount, frequency, and duration of financial support provided from the sponsor to the applicant. That would be bank statement, money remittance records, etc. And the applicant should provide other source of income that they may have. If the applicant does not have any other source of income, then evidence of why they are unable to work and why they're not eligible for state benefits. The applicant should also provide their evidence of their living costs, such as mortgage, utility, food, medical, and education payment, etc. They should also mention detail for any other family members in their country of residence. If there is a medical condition, that might be helpful to mention as well. Relationship with the sponsor should include evidence of active and continued engagement and involvement in your life. For example, evidence of visits or correspondences, as I mentioned earlier. There's a requirement for medical or travel insurance, but you don't actually have to get it until your visa is approved. If your visa is approved, then you should buy this insurance and have it ready before you enter the port of entry. And if there is a previous visa refusal, you should still disclose it, because if you don't disclose it and they find it at a later time, you could actually get into trouble. So the original letter issued to you by the authority of that country should be provided with your application. If you say you really don't have it, but you admit that you have, you believe you already be issued a refusal of some sort before, you should still explain it in your application and just say that I don't have it, but I acknowledge it exists. For adult dependents, you must they can only apply for stamp 0 and first, and they can't apply for the family reunification visa before the stamp 0 application is approved. And the financial requirement for adult dependents is quite high. So if you want to bring one adult dependent, you're supposed to earn at least 92,789 euro. And for two adult dependent, like both parents, you will need to show that you can earn more than 125,000 euro, and three dependents is nearly 1,600,000 euros. Oh, what did I say? Sorry, 157,000 euros. Excuse me. And so the family members should also in the stamp 0 application, you should also include details of all family members residing in Ireland, including their legal status. You should provide that there's suitable accommodation to welcome these dependents, and they might need a police clearance and health declaration. This would be a letter from your local doctor informing the present state of health of the adult dependent. And then the adult dependent would also need to have a short statement saying why they need to come to live in Ireland. In the screenshot, you can see the temporary permission to remain stamp 0. That will be what the application form look like. Now, if the visa application is refused, you will be given a chance to make an appeal within 2 months of receiving the refusal letter. So the refusal reasons can be the sponsor didn't meet the financial requirement, or there isn't enough supporting evidence of the relationship. If a lot of the time the family members might be in Ireland already, as I mentioned early on as a definition part, that's a completely different process. And if the marriage or birth certificates were not attested, then they will be refused as well. And sometimes people just simply forget to sign the visa application. You know, the summary form. If you don't sign it, they will say no as well. The current processing time as of Tuesday this week for what we see here as category B is actually in our situation more like category C. So for people on general work permit or stamp 4, they're talking about only processing April 2024. And for Irish citizen or critical skill permit holders, their family applications, family reunification applications only 29th of April 2024. So it's quite a long wait. And if the appeal was, if they had to submit appeal, the current date for appeal under review is actually January 2025 and June 2025. That's actually quite a big new update, because the last time I looked at it, I think they were doing the appeal much later, much older appeals. Yeah, so that's the current processing time. As you can see, the financial requirement is really high and the processing time is really, really long. So I'm going to let Neil talk about our campaign for family reunification.
Thanks, Jen. I won't speak for too long. I know people have questions that they're eager to get answered. You can
Oh,
leave the
sorry.
slides on, Jen, because we
Sorry.
can flick through the slides. Just for you, your information, Shan, I've just noted down the questions by pen here because I couldn't copy and paste the questions out of the chat. So I think I have them all noted here.
Sorry
So
about this.
we'll get into them
Yeah.
in just about 5 minutes for anyone who's waiting for their question to be answered.
Sorry about this, guys.
While Chan is getting the slides back up, yeah, so just to say, MRCI has been campaigning for around the last 2 years to try to improve the system of family reunion, and that kind of um, yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. So we were campaigning for 2 years and pushing them to review the policy, trying to improve it, and eventually they did review the policy last year. And instead of improving it, they've actually made it even more restrictive, which is extremely disappointing. They've tightened it significantly. They've made it significantly harder for people to bring their children. And as far as we can see, they're now basically saying that, yes, we'll have you come here to work, but we don't want to allow you to bring your child here. And it's really seeing people as units of labor rather than as people with lives and families and everything that goes along with that. So we are very much opposed to this tightening, to these strict rules that are being opposed, and because of that, we have a campaign to try to change that. So tonight is more about sharing information and making sure everyone understands the process, but we did also want to let people know about this campaign who may want to be part of it. So it's a community of already over 1,000 migrant workers who are affected by these rules, and our asks are very simple. We're calling on the government to scrap the 12-month wait. For many migrant workers on either employment permits or stamp 4, you need to wait a year before you can even apply, which makes absolutely no sense. The government knows what salary you're earning when you come in. You're in a stable job with a stable income. There's no reason to make you wait 12 months before you get the ball rolling. And the second thing we want them to do is to scrap the salary thresholds. We believe that anyone who is here working full time should be able to have their immediate family here with them. There's no reason to impose a salary threshold when the state itself sets the salary that it deems acceptable for migrant workers who come to work in the sectors where we need workers. So those are our two asks: scrap the 12-month wait and scrap the salary thresholds. If you agree with those asks, we'd love for you to be part of the campaign. We've got two key actions that are coming up in the very near future in 2026. One is a submission to the Department of Justice, a kind of feedback submission on these recent changes. It's very nearly finished and ready to go. So if you'd like to feed into that, then we need you to act fast on that. And then a longer term action over the summer into kind of June, July, August. We're planning a national lobbying action where we're going to be trying to get groups together all around the country to go into their local politicians, local TDs, and get them to pledge to do something about this unfair policy. So I'll just share a little bit more about each of those now. Maybe, Etienne, you can move along the slide. So the submission to the department, we're providing feedback on the new policy that Jan has just brought you through. We're saying in no uncertain terms that it is extremely unfair, that it is not fair to deny people the right to have their family with them. We're proposing those changes that I just mentioned of scrapping the salary threshold, scrapping the 12-month wait. And we really have done research that shows that migrant workers contribute hugely in terms of tax, income, are in no means going to be a burden on the state, even with full family reunion rights. So we're really bringing evidence to bear to show that people should be able to have their family with them. Thanks. We're also looking for support from allies on that. I'll just go back one for a second, Jen. We're getting support from a range of allies on that submission as well, but we're also trying to very much include the the feedback from people themselves. So workers like all of you who are on the call today, this evening, we want to hear from you and to include your points of view in that. We've already heard from lots of people who've taken our survey, and you can do that by scanning the QR code that Jan has up there, and that'll bring you to the survey where you can share your point of view, and we will gather some of those and include them in the submission that's going straight to the Department of Justice. There's also a way at the end of that where you can get in touch with us and we can help you get support from your employers as well around that. So that's action one, which is going straight to the department and explaining why this policy isn't fair and trying to get them to change it. Now you can go on, Tan. We've just got a couple of slides now that share some of the results we've seen from that survey already from the people who've taken it. So the first question, one of the four questions we asked is, have the recent changes to the family reunion rules made it more difficult for you to bring family members in Ireland? And overwhelmingly, people are saying yes. That's up in excess of 90%, which is pretty clear and makes sense given what Chan has explained and given what we know how the policy has changed. We asked what the biggest single obstacle people are facing under the current rules is, and overwhelmingly it's those income thresholds. People simply are not earning a salary that meets those thresholds. Those thresholds are tied to, as Tian explained, this working family payment system, which is not a sensible or appropriate way of assessing if someone is able to support their family. And we have provided alternatives to that in our submission document. But that's the big problem people are facing. Next question we asked is, do you believe the family reunification income requirements for a spouse are achievable for workers in your sector, which is the 30,000 that Jan mentioned? And most people think that is achievable. The vast majority of migrant workers who are here in Ireland will be earning either around 30,000 or a little more, and some substantially more. But when it came to children, the story is completely different. We asked people if they believe the family reunion income requirements for children are achievable, and overwhelmingly people are saying no. And we've pulled out exactly what they are there. So basically, if you have one child, you need to be earning over 50,000, two children, you need to be earning over 60,000. And we know that the vast, vast majority of general employment permit holders are not earning those salaries. And here's just so we're also asking how being separated from your family has personally affected you. So if you'd like to provide a quote, maybe that's similar to the one that you can read there. That's a very moving and heartfelt quote from one of the migrant workers that took our survey. If you'd like to say something about your situation that we could include in our feedback to the department, then please fill out the survey and we can gather those. And then finally, have you considered leaving Ireland and returning to your home country? And quite staggeringly, over half of people that we've surveyed are saying they're actually considering leaving Ireland because of these unfair rules. So that's, at a time when we desperately need workers in Ireland, migrant workers that are contributing so much are thinking about leaving because of these unfair rules. So then the second action we're going to take, so that was all the first action feeding into this feedback document that's going to the department to try to convince them to change it. But that might not be enough to get them to change it. So we need to also try and create political pressure and political will to change these rules. So the second thing we're doing over the summer is a national family reunion lobby campaign. So at the moment we are trying to get people like yourself who's listening here, who's trying to bring their family to register and to say that you'll be part of this action. That's not tying you into anything. You can still find out more and not do it in the end, but please do register your interest so we can build groups around the country to do this. We'll provide full training and support. You won't be expected to just go and do this. We'll sit with you. We'll explain what to do. We'll form a group where you can go with people if you're not comfortable going on your own. And we'll basically be creating a postcard that has our demands on it, and we'll be supporting people to go visit their local TDs and try to get them to sign up and show their support for the demands that we have to try to ultimately influence the Minister for Justice and get him to change these rules. So this is what the postcard might look like. Says it'll have some nice imagery and say, "Will you support family reunification for migrant workers in Ireland? Will you write to the Minister for Justice requesting that he scrap those income thresholds and abolish that 12-month waiting period?" So we'll be trying to get TDs to not only tell us in a meeting that they support it, but actually put their money where their mouth is and actually commit on paper to doing that. And we think that can be very powerful in convincing the minister. So we plan to visit all 43 constituencies across Ireland. We plan to concentrate on Fianna Fáil because that's the party of the Minister for Justice, and we feel he'd listen a little bit more to his party colleagues. And we're also going to do a public campaign around this. You know, we'll be sharing photos of any of the TDs that sign up to it, sharing on our socials the visits that people make to try and build a bit of momentum around this. You know, sharing videos outside the constituency offices. You know, I've just met with this TD and they support us, and build a bit of momentum and try to get these rules changed. And you'll also be signing up to a database of activists around this issue, so that if we need to do future actions, we can let you know about them as well. So if that sounds of interest to you, if you'd like to be part of that and part of the change to change these rules, then there's the QR code in front of you there that you can scan on your phone. We'll leave it up for a second there. If you'd like to be part of that, then that's where you sign up. Just scan that QR code and it'll bring you to the page to sign up. So I think that's it from my side. Those are the two actions we plan to take this summer, and we'd love for as many people as possible who are affected by family reunion to be part of that campaign and help us push for change.
Thanks, Neil. Before we go into the Q&A session, I'm going to have to ask people to fill a poll that we hope you can just take 2 minutes to fill this poll, and I will take this time to read over the questions, okay?
There's a few people asking just about a recording, so just to confirm that the recording will be made available and sent to everyone, so no need to panic about that.
Yeah, give me another few minutes. I do need to. There's a lot of questions. Neil, would it make
So
sense for you to read a question out that you feel like,
yes,
because we got
exactly.
a
So
chance
I've
to read
already
them?
collated them, and
Yeah,
are you finished with the
great,
poll?
great.
Will I start into the questions?
Yeah, I'm going to end the poll. Okay, we have 90 8% finished. So I'm going to stop it now. Okay. Oh, actually, only half of the people did, but that's okay. Yeah. Um,
So I can
Thanks.
start. So there was a few questions that were you've definitely answered already. There was a few about what salary you need to earn if you're on a stamp four or stamp one, what do you need to prepare? So there's some of them you've definitely answered. There was a few around the time frames, the waiting times to expect, and you definitely showed that on one of the slides, but maybe you could summarize what time
Sure.
frame you should expect if you're either on a general or a critical skills permit to be waiting if you've made your application.
So the time frame is actually dependent on where you're applying from. So if you are from um, India or China or London and maybe Turkey, um, the embassies there have their own application processing centers. So um, they have their own processing time, which is currently, I think I heard from Chinese community and Indian community is about 1 year at the moment. But if you are applying from other countries, then all the applications are processed in the Dublin Visa Processing Center. So the time I showed you there from like April 2024, that's the time when the Dublin Visa Processing Center receive your applications. And from so if you made a submission uh, last year in March, and the embassy, for whatever reason, didn't deliver it until May, then the visa center will be saying, like, we're only processing when in May. Oh, that's the time they're looking at. If that makes sense. Maybe next question.
Great. Thanks, Jen. Then the next, I guess, theme, there's a few people asking about, I've been waiting a long time. Now, maybe people can assess whether it's really a long time compared with others based on your previous answer. But people are asking about fast tracking or escalating if they haven't heard. Is there anything people can do in that situation?
So in general, they would say to you that they are doing on a timeline basis. Nobody gets special treatment unless there's a extra special situations. Like in the past, we did manage to help people to fast track when, say, a family member became victim of a serious crime, or there's a very serious medical condition that's the family member here actually needs support. Unless you believe your situation is really, really special, otherwise you can always try, but they probably will ignore it. That's the honest answer. But if you feel like you have a situation that you want to check, get in touch with us. We will review your individual case and see if there's any chance we can help.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. The next one, there was a couple of people asking about the kind of sole income rule and whether your partner's income or other sources of income can be taken into account.
So as I mentioned, the new policy does specifically say they're only looking at the sponsor's income level itself, but they also mentioned about savings. So if the sponsor and the family members have savings, that they can show that there's extra financial resources to make sure people won't get into financial problems here, then you can put that in as well. But in general, the rule now is um, one sponsor income only.
Thanks, Jen. Then there was a few questions about age, about children over 18 and whether or not there was any possibility of bringing children over 18.
So as I mentioned, the family reunification window or channel for bringing your family here has not closed if your children's after over 18. If if there's special needs and if you happen to have that very, very high financial ability, then you can obviously still try to bring them. But if neither of them um, describe your situation, then you probably will have to consider like whether they can come here for further education or whether they can come here on work permit.
Then there was a quite a specific question about stamp zero, renewing stamp zero for a parent, and if you need to provide a medical cert every year.
You need to look at the letter, the permission letter that you received. It will describe what needs to be done, or otherwise, it double check on the stamp zero uh, application, what you got, the web page that describes stamp zero's conditions. We can look into that at a separate time. If you want to get in touch with me, um, in the future, you can give the Information Support Center email or call.
Thanks, Jan. And then there's a few questions. I would encourage people, please don't put too much detail about your own individual situation, because then it's hard for us to get to the question. And if you can always follow up with us later. So, well, a few people are asking for the our email as well, Jan. I don't know if that's on a slide, where they can follow up for more
Yeah.
information. But
Yes. Here is the QR code for our um contact us page. If you would like to get in touch with us, I don't know if people can see the MRCI contacts page on the right-hand side of your screen. But basically, if you scan the QR code, you will be brought to the contacts page. And scroll down, you will see the messages. Fill in your information. In the message part, actually describe your situation, what kind of support you actually need, and then we will get back to you. Now, we are quite short-staffed, and there are a lot of questions, so we will be, I have to admit there is a good bit of backlog, so you will have to submit and wait. If your case is very, very urgent, what I would suggest is that fill the form first, and then you can call us on the phone number you can see on the contact us page as well after you submit the query. Okay.
thanks, Jan. And maybe you can leave that up while we take a couple of more
Yep.
questions. There's a few questions about visit visas, just generally about how to apply for visit visas for family, and can you apply for a visit visa while you have a family reunion application ongoing for that person?
Um, the the biggest problem with family visitor visa is there's always suspicion of whether people will be using the visitor visa to come in and stay here while and break the immigration rules. So whether you've already submitted so either way, you're going to try to convince the Department of just other visa officers that you will make every effort to observe the rules. You will return and wait on your family reunification applications to be processed if that's possible. Otherwise, if you are just applying for a visitor visa without any submission of family reunification application now, you need to make sure that you can persuade the immigration officers or visa officers that your family members do intend to go home. Now, we have seen people who came in on visitor visas and decided to overstay and try to apply for change of status. In more recent time, we have seen more refusal of change of status being in this kind of situation. So I wouldn't encourage people trying that route at all. Okay.
Thanks, Jan. There's a few questions, and I'm conscious we might not know that much about this because it's still very early days, but there's a few questions about the accommodation requirements and how that will work. I don't know if you've anything you can share on that.
Yeah, so When you submit your application, I would suggest if your landlord is happy to write a letter to say that they do accept for additional family members to come and stay with you, then that'll be great. Because some applications might just happen to be shorter than others. So it's always good to include something like that. But then because the process is so long, they probably most likely, when they are reviewing your application, they might have to ask you again, where do you live? What kind of accommodation you have? So you probably should provide both twice, basically.
Okay, thanks. Then there's one about if people have considered processing both the visa and IRP together, pushing the authority and considering processing. Oh, I think it's just about the processing timeline for visas and IRPs as well. Um,
Okay. Actually, I have some.
you're just breaking up slightly there, Tian.
Okay. Can you hear me
You're
now?
back. Yeah, you're back.
Okay, great. Yeah. So if you are applying for IRP card and then you have family dependent, you can actually apply for their renew as well. And then in other way, there's an additional information box at the bottom. Yeah, you can include there that my family dependence application number is this. If possible, please link it. Or otherwise, you can use portal.irishimmigration.ie website to submit a query where you can specifically say to them that my application is this and my family's application is this. Please review them jointly when you're processing mine. The Department the Department of Justice actually said it to us that this is what they're doing. They're looking at joint applications anyway, so that's all above board.
There's a question about if you applied before the rules changed, do you face the old rules or the new rules?
You will face the old rules when you apply before the rule change. Yeah.
Great. Thanks,
Actually,
Jan.
I just mentioned that even like hopefully you don't have to go through an appeal, but if your application is refused and you do have good grounds to appeal, I would suggest go through the appeal process because the appeal would have to look at the old rules as well. Whereas if you make a new application, then you have to go with new rules.
There's one person asking, is there any provision for someone granted refugee status but who's not working?
So if you were granted refugee status recently, like within the last year, then there is a special family reunification policy that's to do with international protection, which we are not familiar with. So you might want to consult the Irish Refugee Council for it. If you have lived here for a few years and you are not able to work, if there's special conditions, maybe we can talk about it and see if there's a way around it. But in general, the rules are rules. Okay.
And then someone is asking, when an application is approved, should a family member come to Ireland on a C visa or a D visa?
It will be a D visa. You would apply for D long stay family reunification visa. The C visa is only for if you are a family member of EU citizen, then they can apply for C visa to come here.
Then there's a couple of more questions that are kind of examples of personal situations. I'm wondering whether they would be sufficiently serious to expedite an application. I know you said a little bit um, on that already, but I presume maybe you can say a little more, but I'm guessing it needs to be something very substantial and serious for them to consider fast tracking in any way.
Yeah, I guess like all we can do is like you might want to contact us directly to see if there's anything like maybe we can help you to review your application and see if there's anything missing or any support documents, you can submit, which might help. But in general, they are not fast tracking anybody.
Is there any provision for someone with special needs or a disability who I'm guessing maybe wouldn't be in a position to earn the income requirements?
Um, I, I, my answer is I don't actually know. So if you are like have health issues and you're asking for humanitarian support, it probably wouldn't be considered as a family reunification. We can just get in touch with us and we will see if there's any way we can apply for something for you.
Great. Thanks, Tian. The next one is if someone turns ages out while waiting, but I think you've answered that. It's
Oh, the rules.
if you
Yeah.
if you if you complied with the rules when you applied, then you should be fine. So that person should be fine. Um, so there's just new ones coming in that I haven't collated yet, so I'm just having to breeze through. Uh, yeah, this is just about stuff we've answered already. Yeah, that's about children turning 18. And I think a lot of these we've answered. We may have come to. And,
Okay. I do think we did cover most questions I would meet in my day-to-day work. So if you have any other questions that you feel like need to be answered, as I mentioned, just get in touch with us through the contact us page, fill the form, and if it's extremely urgent, fill the form, then call us. I think it's exactly 8 o'clock, so we are very good at timekeeping today. Thank you everybody for coming and joining us this evening. I hope we have provided you with some useful information and some hope, because we know the system is really bad, and as Neil said, we need to campaign together to try to make this system more workable. Thank you, everybody.
and just to say, for anyone who maybe didn't get the email or didn't catch how to get involved in the campaign, it's all on our website, mrci.ie. You'll find how to get involved in the campaign, how to submit a query, and all of that information. So if you had a question that maybe we missed because we were trying to get through loads of them, please do follow up with it and we will answer it.
Yeah, so this page just you can see we have some campaign our website especially in relation to our campaigns and becoming our supporters. And if you would like to donate to us, we'll be very happy as well. And you can take a screenshot for this if you like. And then we do have a lot of regular updates on social media. So these are the social medias we're working with. So feel free. We'll be very happy to have you following us. Thank you, everybody, and have a nice evening. And if you do need, as mentioned, if you do need to contact us again, please feel free to do so. Bye bye.
Bye, all. Thanks.